On the morning of my 32nd birthday, my husband Matthew was supposed to surprise me. That's what he promised: breakfast, flowers, the kids singing, the whole sweet scene. Instead, I woke up to silence. No message, no call, and his side of the bed was cold, like he hadn't even been there all night. My name is Sarah, and for the last 8 years, I've lived a life that looked perfect from the outside: 2 kids, a beautiful home, a husband who everyone said was a great provider. Matthew was the kind of man who smiled at parties, shook hands like a politician, and always made sure people admired him. And I was the wife who made it all look effortless. But that morning, something felt wrong in a way I couldn't explain. I sat up slowly, staring at the empty pillow. My heart didn't race yet. It just sank, heavy and quiet, like it already knew what my mind was refusing to accept. I checked my phone. Nothing. Not even a lazy, happy birthday red text. I got up and walked into the hallway. The house was too quiet. Usually Matthew would be downstairs early, pretending to set things up. I expected to smell coffee or hear the kids whispering. Instead, I only heard my own footsteps. I went to the kitchen. No cake box, no gift bag, no flowers. Just a clean counter and last night's dishes neatly stacked, like someone wanted everything to look normal. Then I heard the small voice that made my stomach tight. "Mom, is Dad coming?" My son Ethan stood at the stairs in pajamas, rubbing his eyes. Behind him, my daughter Mia peeked out, clutching her stuffed rabbit. They looked excited, like they'd been waiting for something. I forced a smile so fast it almost hurt. Of course, Dad's probably just getting something ready. Ethan frowned, but he didn't come to say goodnight. That sentence hit me harder than it should have. Matthew always said goodnight to them, even when he was tired, even when he was busy. I kept my voice calm. Maybe he had work. Work, that word became the excuse for everything in our marriage. I walked toward the front door. His keys weren't on the hook. His shoes were missing. His laptop bag was gone too. I went back to the kitchen, my hands starting to shake, and opened our shared calendar on my phone. No meeting, no trip, nothing scheduled. I tried calling him once. It rang and went to voicemail. I stared at the screen for a long second, then whispered to myself, "It's my birthday. He wouldn't do this today." But deep inside, I knew the truth. People don't vanish on days like this unless they're hiding something. I took a breath, steadied my fingers, and called again, this time on speaker so my hands wouldn't tremble too much. The phone rang twice. Then he picked up. And before he even spoke, I heard music in the background. Loud, happy, like a party. My throat went dry. "Matthew," I said carefully, "where are you?" There was a pause, too long. Then he answered in a voice that wasn't guilty. It was annoyed. "You're calling early," he said. And in that moment, my birthday stopped feeling like a celebration. It started feeling like a warning. The music behind Matthew's voice was loud, like people were celebrating. I gripped the phone harder. My kids were watching me, waiting for me to smile. "Where are you?" I asked again slowly. Matthew sighed. "I told you last week, I'm out of town." My stomach turned. Out of town where? "Lake Como," he said casually. "Business." Lake Como. My mind searched for a memory of him telling me that. There was none. Not a single message, not one detail. "Today?" I asked. "Yes, Sarah," his voice sharpened. "I'm busy. Why are you making this a thing?" I swallowed. "It's my birthday." Silence, not shock, not apology. Just a pause like he was deciding what to say. "Happy birthday," he said flatly, like he was reading it off a paper. My heart started beating faster. "Who's with you?" "No one." But right then, a woman laughed close to the phone, not in the background near him, comfortable, like she belonged there. My breath caught. Matthew didn't hang up, he didn't even pretend. He just said, "I have to go." "Wait," my voice cracked. "Who was that?" He didn't answer. Then I heard him whisper, not softly enough, "Don't start." And then the woman spoke, clear as daylight. "Give it to me." My entire body froze. That voice wasn't unfamiliar. That voice was in my life since childhood. A second later, Matthew's phone shifted. And then I heard her fully, right into my ear, amused and cold. "Hi, Sarah." I couldn't speak. My mouth opened but nothing came out. "Alex," I finally whispered. My sister laughed lightly, like I was being dramatic. "Yes, me." I felt the room tilt. My son called me again, "Mom," but his voice sounded far away. "What are you doing with him?" I asked. Alex's tone turned sweet in a cruel way. "Relax, you're not stupid, you know what this is." My hands started shaking so hard I had to hold the phone with both hands. "Put him back." "Oh, he's right here," she said. "But he doesn't want to talk to you, not on your birthday, that would be too fake, right?" I couldn't breathe properly. "Alex, stop." She didn't stop. "He's told me everything," she continued. "How you've become boring, how you're always tired, how you act like a wife and mother is some huge sacrifice." I whispered, "You're lying." Alex laughed again. "Sarah, you really don't get it. This has been going on for months." I felt my heart crack. "No." "Yes," she said calmly, "and it's not just an affair." The music got louder for a second, like someone raised the volume. Then Alex said the words that made my blood go cold. "He's divorcing you." My chest tightened so hard I thought I might faint. "What did you just say?" Alex didn't hesitate. "Matthew is divorcing you, soon." I whispered, "You're my sister." "And he's my future," she replied. I couldn't process it. My mind refused to believe what my ears had heard. I tried to hear Matthew's voice in the background, but he stayed silent like he had handed her control on purpose. "Put him on," I demanded. Alex chuckled. "He doesn't want to, he's tired of explaining himself." My voice shook. "Matthew," I shouted into the phone, "say something." Finally he spoke, not guilty, not emotional, just cold. "Sarah, stop embarrassing yourself," he said. That sentence sliced through me, like I was the problem, like my pain was an inconvenience. "It's my birthday," I said again, desperate. "And," Matthew replied, "that doesn't change anything." I felt a sharp sting in my eyes, but I forced myself not to cry. Not now, not while my kids were standing nearby. I lowered my voice. "You're with my sister." "Yes," he said, no denial, no shame. Alex leaned into the call again, enjoying every second. "He chose me, just accept it." I asked, "How long?" Alex paused just enough to make it hurt more. "Almost a year." "A year?" A whole year of lies. A whole year of dinners and birthdays and family photos where my husband was looking at my sister behind my back. My body went numb. Then Alex delivered the next blow, like she was reading a script she had practiced. "He's going to make it official after he comes back. You'll get papers. And before you ask, yes, we already planned everything." I swallowed hard. "Planned what?" "Our future," Alex said smoothly. "He's taking me to Monaco next month. You know, like real rich people vacations, not your boring family trips." Monaco. I closed my eyes, my hands were ice, my knees felt weak. I whispered, "How could you both do this to me?" Matthew sighed again. "Because I'm done, Sarah. I don't want this life anymore." "What life?" I asked. "Our life." "Our life is a routine," he said. "You don't even try anymore." Alex cut in, smiling through her words. "Don't worry, I'll be a better wife than you ever were." My heart was pounding so loud it felt like it might burst. Ethan tugged my sleeve. "Mom, what's wrong?" I turned slightly away so the kids wouldn't hear clearly. "Please," I whispered into the phone, "at least don't do this today." Matthew's voice lowered, cruel and final. "You'll survive, you always do." Then he said, "I'm ending the call." Before the line cut, Alex added softly, like a final knife. "Make sure you don't beg again, it's pathetic." The call ended. I stared at the phone like it had exploded. My kids were still watching me, smiling, waiting for their father to appear. And I realized something terrifying. Matthew hadn't just cheated. He had already replaced me. I put the phone down slowly and stared at my kids. They were still smiling, still excited, still expecting their father to walk in with balloons like he always did. "Mom," Mia asked softly, "is Dad coming?" I forced my face into a calm expression. "Yes," I lied. "He just got busy, but we'll still celebrate." Ethan looked confused, but he promised. "I know," I said, keeping my voice steady. "Sometimes adults mess up." I walked to the kitchen, not because I needed to, but because I needed to hide my face for a second. My hands were shaking. My throat burned like I had swallowed fire. I made breakfast for them. Eggs, toast, juice, like it was a normal morning, like my world hadn't shattered 5 minutes ago. Ethan kept glancing toward the door. Mia kept checking my phone. I smiled again and again until my cheeks started hurting. I asked them about school, about cartoons, about anything to keep them from noticing the silence where their father should have been. When they finally started eating, I locked myself in the bathroom and turned on the tap so they wouldn't hear the sound I made. I didn't cry like in movies. I didn't fall on the floor. I covered my mouth and shook. Not because Matthew cheated, not even because it was Alex. Because of the way they spoke to me. Like I was already nothing. I wiped my face quickly and looked in the mirror. My eyes were red, but my expression wasn't broken. It was hard, cold, like something inside me had snapped into place. I walked back out and sat with my kids. After school, I said, we'll buy a cake and have a birthday night at home. Just us. They cheered, and I nodded like I meant it. When I dropped them off at school, I sat in the car for a long time without moving. My phone was still in my hand. Matthew hadn't called back. Alex hadn't messaged. I opened our family group chat and stared at Matthew's profile picture. Him holding Mia on his shoulders, smiling like a hero. My fingers hovered over the screen. I could expose him right now, to his parents, to mine, to everyone. But then I remembered what my lawyer friend once said, the person who panics first loses. Matthew thought he had power. He thought I would cry and beg and accept whatever he decided. He didn't know me anymore. That night, after the kids fell asleep, I went into our bedroom and opened the closet. Matthew's suits were lined perfectly, expensive and untouched, like he cared more about fabric than family. I reached into the back corner, where I kept a small box from before I became Matthew's wife. Inside were old documents, old photos, and one thing I hadn't looked at in years. A business card. The name on it made my stomach tight. Ryan Calloway. My past, my old world, the one Matthew never wanted me to talk about. And suddenly, I remembered something Matthew once said during an argument years ago. You'd be nothing without me. I stared at Ryan's name and felt something rise in my chest. Not sadness. Anger. And a plan started forming in my head so clearly it scared me. The next morning, I didn't confront Matthew. I didn't call Alex. I didn't tell anyone. I waited until the kids were on the school bus. Then I walked straight into Matthew's private office at home, the room he always kept locked, the room he said was work only. I had never forced that door before. But now I wasn't his wife. I was his enemy. I used the spare key from his keychain drawer and stepped inside. The room smelled like expensive cologne and control. Everything was organized, files stacked, folders labeled, laptop closed like it was hiding secrets. I went to his desk first and opened the top drawer. Nothing, just pens, cards, and a second phone I had never seen. My stomach dropped. I picked it up. It was locked with a passcode. I turned it around and saw fingerprints all over the screen, like he used it daily. A secret phone. I placed it back carefully and started searching the files. I opened one folder, then another. Bills, contracts, bank letters. Then I found a black folder marked with one word, Apex. I pulled it out and opened it. Inside were project details, marketing plans, and printed emails. The numbers made my heart race, millions. At the top of one document was a client name. I froze when I read it. Callaway Holdings. My fingers went cold. That wasn't just any company, that was Ryan's company. I flipped through the pages fast. The details were too specific. The ideas were too polished. It looked like Matthew had already promised results. But Matthew didn't create things like this. Matthew didn't invent anything. Matthew stole. I kept reading until my eyes landed on a line that made my throat tight. Final approval meeting, Monaco. Monaco again. It wasn't a random vacation. It was business. It was a deal. And suddenly, Alex's words from the phone call echoed in my head. He's taking me to Monaco next month. My hands trembled as I turned another page and saw the date. 2 weeks from now. 2 weeks until Matthew walked into Monaco with my sister on his arm, pretending he was powerful, pretending he was untouchable. I kept digging. At the bottom of the folder was a thin envelope, no label. I pulled it out, opened it, and my heart slammed against my ribs. Inside were printed divorce documents, not signed yet, but completed, prepared. Matthew had planned the exact day to destroy me. I flipped to the page about assets. He had listed the house as primarily funded by husband. He had listed my role as non-working spouse. And the worst part, he had written that I was emotionally unstable. My stomach turned. He wasn't just leaving me, he was preparing to ruin me. I forced myself to breathe and took pictures of every page with my phone, every line, every lie. Then I heard the sound of the front door opening. My blood turned to ice. Someone was inside the house. I froze in Matthew's office, holding my phone like a weapon. The front door had opened. I heard footsteps move across the hallway. Slow, confident. My mind raced. Matthew wasn't supposed to be home. I shoved the Apex folder back into place, slid the divorce papers into the envelope, and locked the drawer with the spare key. My heart was hammering so loud I thought whoever entered could hear it. The footsteps stopped outside the office. Then the handle moved slightly. Locked. A pause. Then the footsteps walked away. I didn't breathe until I heard the front door close again. Whoever it was had only been passing through, maybe delivery, maybe a neighbor returning a package. But it was enough to remind me I was running out of time. I walked out of the office carefully and locked it behind me like I'd never entered. My legs felt weak, but my mind was sharp now. Matthew was going to Monaco for business. Matthew was stealing from Ryan Calloway. Matthew was preparing to call me unstable in court. And my sister was standing beside him while he did it. I went straight to my bedroom and pulled out the old business card again. Ryan Calloway, the name I hadn't said in years. I stared at it for 5 full seconds before dialing. The call rang once, twice. Then a calm male voice answered. Calloway Holdings, this is Ryan. My stomach flipped, I almost hung up. But I forced my voice to stay clear. Ryan, it's Sarah. Silence. Then he spoke slower. Sarah who? My throat tightened. Sarah Bennett Carson. Another pause, this time heavier. Then his tone changed. Sarah. I closed my eyes. Yes. Why are you calling me? He asked. It's been years. I know, I said quickly. I wouldn't call unless it mattered. His voice turned cautious. What happened? I took a breath. My husband is working on something called Project Apex. It's under your company name, Calloway Holdings. He has a meeting in Monaco. Ryan didn't respond right away. Then he asked, sharper now, what's your husband's name? Matthew Carson. The line went silent. I could hear faint typing. Then Ryan said, low and controlled, he reached out last month. He claimed he had an original expansion strategy. I didn't trust it, but I agreed to a review meeting. My mouth went dry. Ryan, it's not original. I told him everything in one breath. The folder, the documents, the Monaco meeting, the secret phone, the divorce papers. I didn't even mention Alex yet. I didn't need to. The business betrayal was enough. When I finished, Ryan's voice dropped to something dangerous. So he's using my company to fund his exit, he said, and he thinks he can walk away clean. Yes, I whispered, that's exactly what he thinks. Ryan exhaled slowly. Sarah, I need to see what you found. I took photos, I said. Good, he replied. Then listen carefully, if he's planning Monaco. His voice turned calm again, but it wasn't friendly. It was strategic. We're going to let him go to Monaco. After the call with Ryan, my hands didn't shake anymore. Fear had turned into focus. Ryan didn't ask how I was, he didn't give sympathy. He only said, send me the photos. Don't warn him, if he's stealing, he'll slip again. I sent everything, every page, every detail. Then I did the next thing Matthew never expected from me. I went to the bank. I didn't take my kids along. I didn't tell anyone. I walked into our branch like I belonged there because I did. My name was on the accounts too. The manager greeted me politely. Mrs. Carson, how can I help? I leaned closer and lowered my voice. I need full statements of every account linked to my name. Joint, savings, investment, everything. He hesitated. May I ask why? My husband is hiding money, I said clearly, and I need proof. That sentence made him move fast. He took me to a private desk and typed for several minutes. Then his face changed. Not surprised, not confused. Worried. He turned the screen slightly toward me. You should look at this. I stared, transaction after transaction. Large amounts, some were withdrawals, some were transfers, and most were recent. My mouth went dry. Where did this money go? The manager clicked deeper into the records. There's a separate account receiving it, he said, not under your name. My heart slammed. Whose name? He paused. It's listed under a company. A company. He zoomed in and read it. Carson Consulting Group. I almost laughed. Matthew didn't own a consulting group. Matthew barely knew how to turn on the printer without yelling for me. This is fake, I whispered. The manager nodded slowly. It looks newly formed, and these transfers began about 10 months ago. 10 months. Almost a year. The same timeline Alex admitted. I scrolled the screen and saw something that made my hands clench. There were payments labeled property reservation. I pointed, what is this? The manager clicked again and pulled up the reference details. International, he said, Monaco. My chest tightened. Monaco wasn't just a trip. Matthew had been using our money to reserve something there. Can you print all this? I asked. Yes, he replied immediately. Pages came out like a confession. I gathered them neatly, but inside I was burning. As I stood to leave, the manager said quietly, Mrs. Carson, you should speak to a lawyer today. I looked at him. He wasn't just giving advice, he was warning me. I walked outside with the documents pressed against my chest like armor. In my car, I opened one page again and stared at the biggest transfer amount. Then I saw the note beside it. Gift A. Alex. I sat there gripping the steering wheel, breathing hard. Matthew wasn't only leaving me. He was funding my replacement with my own money. I didn't go home after the bank. If I walked into that house, I knew I'd either scream or collapse. I needed control first. I searched one name the bank manager hinted at earlier, Patricia Miller, divorce attorney, known for winning ugly cases. I called her office. Her assistant tried to schedule me next week. I said, my husband is moving money, preparing divorce papers, and I have proof. 10 minutes later, I was sitting in Patricia Miller's office. She was in her late 40s, sharp eyes, calm face. She didn't smile like people who pretend to care. She looked like someone who had seen betrayal every day and learned how to destroy it. She glanced at me, talk. I placed the bank statements on her desk first, then the photos of the divorce documents, then the Apex folder evidence. Patricia didn't react emotionally, she studied. After a long minute, she leaned back. He's building a case against you. My throat tightened. He wrote I'm emotionally unstable. Patricia nodded. Standard move. If he paints you unstable, he can push for custody or pressure you into a bad settlement. I whispered, he's been transferring money to an account not under my name. Patricia tapped the statements. Good, that's traceable, and if he formed a fake company to hide marital funds, that's worse for him. I swallowed hard. He thinks I'll beg, he thinks I'll stay quiet. Patricia's eyes stayed locked on mine. Will you? No. For the first time since the birthday call, I said it without shaking. Patricia nodded once like she respected that. Then you need to do 3 things. First, stay calm. Second, stop reacting to him emotionally. Third, don't confront him until we secure your position. I asked, can I freeze the accounts? Not yet, she said. If you move too early, he'll accuse you of financial abuse. We will do this legally, cleanly. I leaned forward. He's going to Monaco in 2 weeks. Patricia's expression hardened. Monaco means he's making big moves, a deal, an asset purchase, or a setup. That's why he's rushing divorce papers. I lowered my voice. He's also stealing from a client, Ryan Calloway. Patricia's eyebrows rose slightly. That's dangerous. I already spoke to Ryan, I admitted. Patricia stared at me. You contacted the client. Yes, I said, because my husband is using their name to build his escape plan. Patricia didn't scold me. she simply said, then this is bigger than a divorce. She opened a drawer and pulled out a folder. I'm filing an emergency motion, she said, not to scare him yet, to protect you, and Sarah. She pointed at Matthew's statement that called me unstable. If he's planning to destroy your reputation, you need to be ready to destroy his first. I felt cold and steady. Tell me what to do. Patricia nodded. Good, because from this moment, you stop being his victim. Patricia told me not to confront Matthew, but she also told me something else. Men like him don't fear tears, she said. They fear evidence. So I spent the next 2 days collecting it. Quietly, carefully, like my life depended on it, because it did. Ryan called me the second evening. Sarah, he said, I compared the Apex proposal to internal drafts. It's stolen, word for word in places. My stomach tightened, so he's using your work. Yes, Ryan replied, and he's also pretending he has investor backing for Monaco. I whispered, he's been transferring money into a fake company account. Ryan was silent for a second, then said, then he's doing both, funding his luxury life while building a business lie. Can you stop him? I asked. I can destroy the deal, Ryan said, but not from a distance. We need to catch him trying to sell the stolen plan. That's when he said it. I want to meet you. I hesitated. I can't leave the kids. Bring them, he said, public place, no drama. The next day, I met Ryan at a quiet cafe near my kids' school. I kept my sunglasses on even though it was cloudy. I didn't want to be seen, not yet. Ryan arrived alone. He looked exactly like I remembered, clean, confident, but not cruel. His eyes scanned my face like he was measuring how much damage had been done. You look tired, he said. I'm not here to talk about me, I replied. I'm here to end him. Ryan nodded slightly. Good. I slid my phone across the table and showed him everything. Photos of the Apex folder, Monaco meeting confirmation, divorce documents, transfers labeled gift, A. Ryan's jaw tightened as he scrolled. He thinks he's clever, Ryan said finally, but he's sloppy. I leaned forward. How do we trap him? Ryan stared at the screen, then looked at me. He's going to Monaco expecting to impress investors and secure approval, so we give him exactly that. My heart thudded. You mean, you act like you're interested? Ryan nodded. I'll invite him officially, a private review meeting. Lawyers present but hidden until the right moment. And Alex, I asked before I could stop myself. Ryan's eyes narrowed. Alex. I swallowed. My sister, she's with him, she'll be there. Ryan's face hardened. Then she'll watch too. My kids arrived with the nanny I hired for 1 hour. They rushed to me, and Ryan watched them quietly. Ethan asked, Mom, who is he? I forced a calm smile. An old friend. Ryan stood up politely. Nice to meet you, Ethan. Mia. Mia waved shyly. Ryan looked back at me and lowered his voice. You're doing this for them too. I nodded. Matthew thinks he can label me unstable and take them. I won't let him. Ryan's tone turned serious again. Then don't break, not once, not in Monaco, not in court, not when he begs. I stared into my coffee, feeling the fire in my chest. Ryan said, I'll send the Monaco invite tomorrow. I asked, and if Matthew suspects. Ryan's answer was cold and simple. He won't. Men like him always believe they're untouchable. That night, Matthew finally called me. Not to apologize, not to explain. To test me. I answered on the second ring calm. Hello. His voice was smooth. Sarah. I kept my tone normal. Where are you? Still traveling, he said. Work is intense. I almost laughed, but I didn't. I assumed, I replied. A pause. He was listening for emotion, for weakness. Then he said, I'll be back soon. Don't make a scene. I held the phone tighter. A scene about what? His voice sharpened. About anything, you always overreact. There it was, the setup. He was planting the unstable story even in my head. I answered softly, okay. Another pause. He didn't like that. He wanted me to cry. He wanted anger. So he pushed harder. You've been quiet, he said. That's unusual. I'm just tired, I replied. Matthew exhaled like he was satisfied. Good, stay that way. The kids need stability. Stability. The word sounded disgusting coming from him. Before hanging up, he added casually, "Also, don't contact my clients. It's embarrassing." My blood went cold. He knew. Not everything, but enough to warn me. I stayed calm. I wouldn't. He ended the call. The second the line went dead, my phone buzzed again. A message from Ryan. Invite sent, Monaco meeting confirmed. He accepted instantly. I stared at the screen, my heart pounded hard. Matthew had accepted instantly because he smelled money, power, freedom. He didn't realize he'd just walked into a cage. The next morning, Patricia met me again. She reviewed the evidence and shook her head. "He's rushing," she said. "That means he's nervous." "Or greedy," I replied. Patricia nodded, "Both." She slid a document across the table. "Emergency custody preparation, financial restraining request. You sign when I tell you." I signed without hesitation. Then she looked straight at me. "Sarah, if you go to Monaco, you keep your face calm the whole time. You don't provoke him, you don't threaten him, you let him destroy himself." I whispered, "He'll have Alex with him." Patricia's eyes narrowed. "Then your sister will learn what it feels like to stand beside a collapsing man." That afternoon, I packed quietly. Not suitcases yet, just preparation. Passports, copies of documents, extra cash. I hid everything where Matthew would never look. At night, when my kids slept, I stood in front of the mirror and stared at the woman Matthew thought he had broken. I didn't see weakness anymore. I saw someone dangerous. And for the first time since my birthday morning, I smiled, not because I was happy. Because I knew what was coming. Monaco wasn't going to be their dream. It was going to be their downfall. 2 days later, Matthew came home like nothing happened. He hugged the kids, kissed my cheek, and acted like he hadn't destroyed my life on my birthday. Alex wasn't with him, of course. She stayed hidden like a thief. That night at dinner, Matthew watched me closely. He wanted to see if I would explode. I smiled politely. I asked him about his trip. I even laughed once. His eyes narrowed slightly, impressed. Later, when the kids went upstairs, Matthew leaned toward me. "You've been behaving." I met his gaze. Should I not? He smirked, "Just don't do anything stupid." Then he walked away like he owned my silence. I waited until he fell asleep. At 3:10 a.m., I got out of bed, dressed quietly, and went to the closet. My suitcase was already prepared behind my winter coats. I didn't take everything. I only took what mattered: passports, documents, and enough clothes for the kids. I went into Ethan's room first. I woke him gently. He blinked at me. "Mom." I whispered, "We're going on a surprise trip." His face lit up instantly. Then I woke Mia. She clutched her rabbit and murmured, "Where's Dad?" "He's sleeping," I said softly. "This is our secret adventure." She nodded like it was a game. I carried my bag downstairs, then returned to the bedroom one last time. Matthew was still asleep, mouth slightly open, peaceful like a man with no conscience. I stood there for 3 seconds and stared at him. He had no idea what I had. He had no idea who I had contacted. He had no idea his story was about to end. I didn't leave a note. Notes are for couples. We weren't a couple anymore. We were enemies. At 4:05 a.m., my taxi arrived. I walked the kids outside. Cold air hit our faces. Ethan was excited, Mia was sleepy, and I was steady. When we reached the airport, I kept checking behind me. Not because I thought Matthew would appear, but because I knew if he found out early, he'd try to stop me. Ryan's assistant had arranged everything under my maiden name. No family reservation, no Carson, nothing Matthew could track. We boarded the plane right before sunrise. Ethan pressed his face to the window. Mia fell asleep on my shoulder. As the plane lifted, my phone buzzed. A message from Ryan. "You're safe, next step, Monaco." I stared at the screen. Then I opened my contacts and hovered over Matthew's number. I could call him now. I could tell him I knew. I could scream every truth into his ear. But Patricia's words echoed in my mind. "Don't break. Let him destroy himself." So I did the cruelest thing I could do to a man like Matthew. I said nothing. Hours later, when we landed in France, my phone lit up again. This time it wasn't Ryan. It was Matthew calling. Over and over, Matthew's calls kept coming. 5 missed calls, then 10, then messages. Where are you? Sarah, answer now. What did you do? I didn't reply. I turned my phone to silent and focused on the next move. If I responded too early, he'd switch from panic to control. Ryan's driver picked us up from the airport and took us straight to Monaco. The city looked expensive even from the car window. My kids stared at the yachts like it was a movie. Ethan whispered, "Mom, are we rich?" I forced a small smile. "We're safe." At the hotel, Ryan was already waiting in the lobby. He greeted the kids first, calm and respectful. He had arranged a private suite with security at the entrance. Ryan looked at me. "Matthew has landed in Nice. He's on his way." My stomach tightened. So soon? Ryan nodded. He thinks this is his final win. A staff member led the kids upstairs with the nanny. When the elevator doors closed, Ryan's tone turned colder. "Your lawyer is on standby," he said. "So are mine." I asked, "Where will the meeting happen?" Ryan handed me a card key. "Conference room B, top floor, private access. He'll think it's exclusive." I nodded. "And Alex?" Ryan replied, "She's with him." Those words hit me hard. Even now, my mind wanted to deny it. My own sister walking into Monaco holding my husband's arm like she earned him. Ryan leaned closer. "Listen, Matthew will try to act charming, then he'll try to intimidate. Don't react. The moment you react, he wins control." I whispered, "What if he threatens me?" Ryan's eyes stayed steady. "Let him, that's evidence." The hours crawled. I stayed inside the suite with the curtains open, watching Monaco glitter like a trap. At 6:40 p.m., Ryan's phone buzzed. "He's here," Ryan said. My heart pounded. "Where?" "In the lobby." Ryan's voice stayed calm. "With her." He showed me a live security feed from the hotel entrance. And there they were. Matthew, wearing his perfect suit, walking like he owned the building. And beside him, Alex. She looked dressed for a fantasy life, smiling wide, holding his arm like she was already Mrs. Carson. I stared so hard my eyes burned. Alex leaned toward Matthew and whispered something. He laughed. Then Matthew looked up, straight toward the security camera, like he could sense eyes on him. And for 1 second, his smile faded. He looked uneasy. Like some part of him felt danger, even if he couldn't explain why. Ryan turned off the feed. "He's headed up," he said. "Are you ready?" I exhaled slowly. "Yes." Ryan opened the suite door. Security stood outside. As I stepped into the hallway, my phone buzzed again. A new message from Matthew. "If you're trying to play games, you'll regret it." I stared at the screen, then locked my phone. Because this wasn't a game. This was the moment his life started collapsing. Conference room B was silent and bright, set like a high-level business meeting. A long table, bottled water, papers placed neatly. It looked official enough to feed Matthew's ego. Ryan stood at the window, calm like a judge. I stayed near the side entrance, out of sight. My heart was pounding, but my face stayed controlled. At exactly 7:15 p.m., the door opened. Matthew walked in first. He didn't look nervous anymore. He looked confident, almost excited, like he had already won. Behind him came Alex. She scanned the room with greedy eyes, like she was choosing what she would take from it. Matthew smiled at Ryan. "Mr. Calloway, finally." Ryan nodded politely. "Matthew." Matthew shook his hand like a politician. "I'm glad you agreed to meet privately. This kind of deal needs class." Alex smirked, then glanced around. "Nice place," she said, like she belonged there. Ryan's eyes flicked toward her. "And you are?" Alex lifted her chin. "Alex, Matthew's partner." I felt my stomach twist at the word partner. Matthew sat confidently and placed a folder on the table. "This is Project Apex, the plan that will change everything for your brand." Ryan leaned forward. "Before we discuss any numbers, I have questions." Matthew smiled wider. "Of course, ask anything." Ryan opened a file and slid a page across the table. "Explain this." Matthew glanced down. The color drained from his face for half a second. Then he forced a laugh. "That's internal strategy, confidential." Ryan didn't smile. "It's confidential because it's mine." The room turned sharp. The air changed. Alex's smile faded. What are you talking about? She snapped. Ryan placed another page down. This is an internal Callaway draft from last year. This is your apex proposal. He tapped the text. Same wording, same structure, same numbers. Matthew's jaw tightened. That's impossible. Ryan's voice stayed calm. It's not impossible, it's theft. Matthew shifted in his chair. His confidence cracked, but he tried to hold it. You're mistaken. My team built this. Ryan clicked his tablet and turned it toward him. This is the metadata. The file your team submitted was copied from ours. Alex leaned in, her eyes scanning fast. Matthew, what is this? Matthew snapped, stay out of it. That alone told me everything. Alex wasn't part of some grand plan. She was just a trophy he promised the world to. Ryan leaned closer. Before you deny again, understand this. I invited you here so you would say it in person, in Monaco, in a room with witnesses. Matthew's eyes flashed. Witnesses. Ryan pressed a button under the table. The side door opened. 2 lawyers entered, along with hotel security. Alex stood up fast. What is going on? Matthew's face shifted from anger to panic. Ryan, what is this? Ryan's tone stayed deadly calm. This is where you stop pretending. Then he looked toward the side entrance. My cue. I stepped forward into the light. Matthew's eyes locked on me instantly. His mouth opened, but no sound came out. Alex turned, saw me, and froze like she'd seen a ghost. I stared at them both, steady and cold. And I said the words that crushed the room into silence. Happy Monaco trip, Matthew. Matthew stood up slowly, like his body didn't know whether to run or attack. Sarah, he said, voice tight, what are you doing here? I didn't answer him. I looked at Alex instead. Her face was pale, eyes wide, lips slightly open like she had forgotten how to breathe. You knew, Alex whispered. You knew and you still came here. Ryan's lawyer stepped forward and placed a document on the table. Mr. Carson, you are being formally notified of legal action for intellectual property theft and fraud. Matthew laughed suddenly, sharp and fake. Fraud, this is ridiculous. Ryan didn't move. You transferred stolen work into your proposal, then tried to sell it to me as your own. Matthew's gaze flicked between the lawyers and security. His confidence was bleeding out fast. This meeting was supposed to be private, he snapped at Ryan. You set me up. Ryan nodded. Yes. Alex grabbed Matthew's arm. Matthew, tell them this isn't true. Matthew yanked his arm away. Not now. That was the moment her fantasy cracked. She realized she wasn't his partner. She was his decoration. The lawyer flipped open a file. We have metadata proof, transfer records, and digital fingerprints. You can deny, but denial won't help you. Matthew's eyes turned to me, dark and furious. You did this. I met his stare. You did this. His face twisted. You're trying to ruin me because you can't accept I'm leaving. I didn't blink. You already ruined yourself. I just brought witnesses. Ryan's second lawyer stepped forward. In addition, we've informed relevant authorities. Your Monaco deal is canceled. Matthew's breathing changed. He leaned forward, voice lowered like a threat. You think you're smart? You think this helps you in divorce court? Patricia's voice came from the doorway. It helps her a lot. Matthew turned fast, his eyes widened. Patricia. My lawyer walked in calmly and placed another folder on the table. Emergency financial protection request. Evidence of hidden funds. Evidence of false statements in your prepared divorce petition. Matthew stared at the folder like it was poison. You broke into my office, he hissed at me. I replied softly. I found the papers you wrote about me being unstable. Alex looked between us, trembling now. Matthew, you said she'd be silent. You said she couldn't do anything. Matthew snapped, shut up. Alex flinched. Security stepped closer. Sir, ma'am, you need to lower your voices. Matthew's hands clenched. His mask was gone. Monaco wasn't luxury anymore. It was a courtroom with expensive walls. Ryan leaned in and said quietly, This is your last chance to cooperate. Matthew's eyes darted again, calculating. Then his voice softened, suddenly desperate. Sarah, let's talk alone. I stepped closer, just enough to make him feel hope. Then I said, cold and clear, no. And Matthew finally understood. He didn't control this story anymore. Matthew's eyes were burning. He looked like he wanted to grab me and shake me until I stopped being a problem. But he couldn't. Too many witnesses. Too many cameras. Too many people who finally saw the real him. Alex suddenly stepped toward me, voice shaking. "Sarah, please, we can talk, you don't have to do this." I stared at her. Do what? Tell the truth. Her face twisted. "You're embarrassing us." "Us," I repeated. "There is no us." Matthew leaned toward the table and lowered his voice. "Sarah, stop, right now." Patricia cut in instantly. "Do not speak to my client privately." Matthew's jaw tightened. He turned to Ryan. "Fine, name your price." Ryan didn't hesitate. "You'll sign that you stole it, you'll sign that you tried to sell it, and you'll sign that you owe damages." Matthew laughed again, but it was weak now. "You'll never collect." Ryan smiled slightly. "You'd be surprised what courts can collect." Alex grabbed Matthew's sleeve. "Matthew, I don't like this." He ripped his sleeve away. "You wanted Monaco, welcome to Monaco." Alex froze. The insult landed hard. She had chased power, and now she was watching it break apart in real time. Matthew's phone buzzed. He checked it and his face changed again. I recognized that look. The look of a man realizing his world was about to explode beyond control. He looked at me. "What did you tell people?" I replied calmly, "Nothing, yet." His breathing became heavier. He turned to the lawyers. "This is a misunderstanding. We can fix this." Ryan's lawyer pushed the papers forward. "Sign." Matthew stared at the pages. His hand hovered. He wanted to fight, but he knew fighting would destroy him. Finally, he grabbed the pen and signed. Alex whispered, "Matthew." He snapped, "Stop whispering." The room went silent again. I turned slightly, took out my phone, and opened the camera. Matthew's eyes widened. "What are you doing?" I raised the phone and aimed it at them. "Ending this." Alex panicked. "Don't you dare." I didn't answer. I took one photo. Matthew in his suit, sweat on his forehead, rage in his eyes. Alex beside him, shaken, exposed, no longer proud. Then I sent the photo to two people, Matthew's mother and my father. Matthew lunged forward instinctively, but security stepped in. "You can't," he shouted. I looked at him calmly. "I already did." His phone started buzzing like it was possessed. One call, another. Matthew stared at the screen. His face drained as he saw the caller ID. "Mom." "Dad." "Board member." Alex's phone started buzzing too. She looked down, trembling. And I watched her expression collapse when she read one message out loud without meaning to. "What have you done?" She looked at Matthew like he had promised her a crown. But all he had given her was ruin. Matthew's phone wouldn't stop ringing. He didn't answer any calls. He just stared at the screen like it was a ticking bomb. Alex grabbed his arm again, desperate. "Fix this. You said you could fix anything." Matthew jerked away. "You think I wanted this?" Alex's eyes filled with panic. "You told me she was weak." He turned on her like a predator. "And you believed it because you're greedy." That insult hit her harder than any slap. She stepped back, stunned. Ryan's lawyers gathered their papers. Security stayed close. The meeting was over. The damage was done. Patricia touched my arm. "You handled it, now we leave." I nodded. As I walked out, Matthew called my name one last time. "Sarah." I stopped, turned slightly, and met his eyes. He softened his voice, trying a different weapon. "Think about the kids." I stared at him. "You didn't." His face twitched with rage, but he didn't chase. He couldn't. I walked out with Patricia and Ryan like I belonged there. Like I had always belonged in rooms where men like Matthew were exposed. Outside, the Monaco air felt colder, cleaner, like my lungs finally had space again. Back in the suite, my kids were playing on the carpet, laughing with the nanny. They didn't know anything. They only knew their mom had promised an adventure. Ethan ran to me. "Mom, can we see the big boats?" I smiled real this time. "Yes, we can." We went out that evening. We walked along the harbor. The lights on the yachts reflected in the water like gold. My kids were amazed, pointing at everything like it was magic. But I wasn't watching the boats. I was watching my phone. Matthew finally texted. "Call me now or you'll regret this." I didn't reply. Then Alex texted, "You ruined everything. You were always jealous of me." I stared at her message, calm. Jealous, that was what she told herself so she wouldn't admit the truth. A minute later, Matthew sent another message, different tone. "Sarah, please, we can settle this privately, don't destroy me." I almost laughed. The man who called me unstable, who vanished on my birthday, who stole my money and my sister, was now begging for privacy. Ryan called me. "He's panicking," he said. "I know," I replied. Ryan paused. "You realize what you just did in that room?" "Yes," I said softly. "I took my power back." Patricia texted right after. "Court filings are ready. Tomorrow we execute." Tomorrow. Not a threat, not a hope, a certainty. That night, after the kids fell asleep, I stood by the hotel window and watched Monaco glow below. My phone lit up again. A call from Matthew's mother. Then one from my father. Then a final message from Matthew. "If you do this, I will take the kids from you." I read it once, then locked my phone. Because I wasn't afraid of him anymore. And he didn't understand that fear was the only weapon he ever had. We flew back 2 days later. I didn't tell Matthew our flight details. I didn't answer his calls. I only responded once to Patricia, "I'm ready." When we landed, my phone exploded again. Matthew, his mother, Alex, unknown numbers. I ignored all of them. A car from Patricia's office picked us up and drove straight home. My kids were excited, talking about Monaco like it was a dream. I kept smiling for them while my mind stayed locked on the next danger. Matthew wouldn't stay quiet. He wouldn't accept losing control. And I was right. When we reached the house, Matthew's car was already parked outside. My stomach tightened. I told the nanny, "Take the kids inside, upstairs, and close the door. Don't open it for anyone." Ethan asked, "Mom, Dad's home." I bent down, kissed his forehead, and whispered, "Go, now." The second the front door closed behind them, Matthew stormed toward me like he'd been waiting for this moment. "Where were you?" he shouted. I didn't step back. "With my children." "You disappeared," he snapped. "You took them out of the country." I looked him straight in the eyes. "I took them on a trip." Matthew's face twisted. "You're insane." There it was again. Unstable, crazy, the word he wanted planted everywhere. He leaned in closer, lowering his voice like poison. "I already spoke to my lawyer. You don't know what you've done." I held my phone up calmly. "I have your messages." He froze for half a second, then he forced a laugh. "Messages don't matter. I'll tell the court you're unstable and vindictive." I replied, "Tell them whatever you want. Your fraud case is already documented." Matthew's eyes widened. "Fraud?" I nodded. "Monaco wasn't a success trip, Matthew. It was your execution." His jaw clenched. "You think Ryan Calloway cares about you? He used you." I didn't flinch. At least he didn't destroy me. Matthew stepped closer again, voice shaking now. "You're going to regret this. I'll take the kids. You'll never see them again." I stared at him, calm and sharp. "Try." He suddenly grabbed my wrist, tight, painful. "You're not walking away," he hissed. Before I could react, Patricia's voice cut through the air like a blade. "Hands off her." Matthew turned. Patricia stood by her car with 2 men beside her, legal witnesses, phones in hand, recording. Matthew released me instantly, stepping back like he hadn't touched me at all. Patricia walked forward. "I have your threats in writing. I have evidence of hidden funds. I have evidence of attempted theft. And I have witnesses for that assault." Matthew's face went pale. "Assault, don't exaggerate." Patricia smiled coldly. "Tell it to the judge." She handed him a folder. "You've been served." Matthew stared at the papers, eyes scanning like he was reading his own death sentence. Then he looked up at me, furious and desperate. And in that moment, I realized something terrifying. Matthew wasn't scared of losing me. He was scared of losing everything else. The first hearing happened fast, too fast. Matthew had already prepared for war. When I walked into court, he was there in a perfect suit, acting calm like an innocent man. Alex sat behind him, trying to look brave, but her eyes kept dropping. She knew she was standing on a sinking ship. Matthew's lawyer spoke first, loud, confident. "Your Honor, My client is deeply concerned for the safety of his children. Mrs. Carson has shown unstable behavior and recently removed the children from the country without consent. Matthew nodded slowly, performing fear like an actor. I didn't react. Patricia told me not to. Matthew wanted me to explode so he could point and say, "See." Patricia stood up calmly. "Your Honor, we have written consent from Mr. Carson, where he acknowledged his wife traveling with the children previously. We also have a record of his own absence and abandonment on the children's mother's birthday." Matthew's jaw tightened. His lawyer tried again. She broke into his office and stole private documents. Patricia replied, "We have evidence of Mr. Carson preparing fraudulent divorce documents with false claims of mental instability. We also have proof of hidden funds transferred to a fake company account." The judge's expression changed slightly, interested now. Matthew leaned toward his lawyer and whispered aggressively. Then his lawyer launched the next attack. "We will also show that Mrs. Carson is emotionally obsessed with a former partner, Ryan Calloway, and used him to sabotage Mr. Carson's career." Matthew looked at me like he had finally found the weapon to kill me with. Patricia didn't flinch. She opened a file and placed it on the desk. "Your Honor, Ryan Calloway is not here because of romance. He is here because my client uncovered theft and fraud. We have signed statements from Calloway Holdings confirming Mr. Carson attempted to sell stolen material." The courtroom went still. Matthew's face stiffened. Alex's eyes widened like she hadn't expected that word, stolen. The judge leaned forward. "Mr. Carson, is there a criminal investigation?" Matthew's lawyer rushed, "No, Your Honor." Patricia cut in. "Not yet, but if Mr. Carson continues to harass and threaten my client, it will become one." Matthew finally snapped. He stood up suddenly. "This is all her," he shouted, pointing at me. "She's destroying me because she can't accept I'm leaving her." The judge raised a hand. "Sit down, Mr. Carson." Matthew didn't sit right away. He looked at the judge, then at the courtroom, then at me. And I saw it clearly. His mask slipped. For 1 second, everyone saw the real man, angry, controlling, and desperate to crush me. The judge repeated colder, "Sit down." Matthew sat. But then he turned his head slightly and whispered something to Alex. Alex nodded. And in that moment, I understood. They weren't done attacking me. They were about to use the kids. After court, Matthew didn't come near me. He didn't shout. He didn't threaten openly. He did something worse. He waited. That evening, Ethan came to me with a strange expression. Quiet, heavy. "Mom," he said, "Dad says you're trying to take him away from us." My chest tightened. "Dad told you that." Ethan nodded slowly. "He said you're angry and that you don't want us to see him anymore." My throat burned. Matthew had found the sharpest knife, our children. I knelt in front of Ethan, holding his shoulders gently. "Listen to me. I will never keep you from your dad, but your dad is lying to you because he's scared." Ethan looked confused. "Scared of what?" I swallowed, scared of losing control. Later that night, Mia crawled into my bed without knocking. Her eyes were watery. "Mom, Aunt Alex said you hate her." My stomach turned hard. "She said that to you." Mia nodded. "She said you're mean and jealous." I closed my eyes for a second. Alex was poisoning my daughter's mind like it was a game. I hugged Mia tight. "I don't hate anyone, sweetheart, but I won't let anyone hurt us." She whispered, "Dad yelled today." That sentence froze my blood. "At you." She nodded, not at me, but he shouted and hit the table. Aunt Alex told me to stay quiet. I sat up straight, heart pounding. This wasn't just court drama anymore. This was danger. I called Patricia immediately. When she answered, I spoke fast. "He's involving the kids, he's scaring them." Patricia's voice turned sharp. "Did they witness aggression?" "Yes," I said. "Mia said he yelled and hit the table." Patricia replied instantly. "Document it. Write it down with time and date. And Sarah, do not let him be alone with them without a legal order." The next morning, Matthew's mother called me crying. "Sarah," she sobbed, "what is happening? Matthew is saying crazy things. He says you're destroying him." I answered calmly, "He destroyed himself. I'm just refusing to die quietly." Then my father called, furious. Not at me, at Matthew. He stole money, my father asked. He used your sister. Yes, I said. Silence, then my father said coldly, I'm coming. By afternoon, Alex disappeared from the house completely. Matthew's friends stopped answering him. His office board demanded explanations. His Monaco plan leaked out like smoke. And Matthew started breaking. That night he came to my door, not with lawyers, not with threats. With a different face, a softer one. Sarah, he said quietly, please, this has gone far enough. I stared at him. You made it go far the day you left me for my sister on my birthday. His eyes flashed. I made a mistake. I stepped closer. No, you made a plan, and it failed. Matthew swallowed hard. If you stop now, I'll give you anything. I whispered, I don't want anything from you. Then I closed the door. And behind it, I heard him finally lose control, punching the wall like an animal trapped. Patricia texted me one line right after. Settlement day is tomorrow. And I knew the last move was coming. Settlement day felt like walking into the final round of a fight. Matthew sat across the table with his lawyer, eyes hollow, jaw tight. Alex wasn't there anymore. She had vanished the moment the damage became real. Matthew's lawyer started strong, demanding custody changes and pushing threats. But the confidence was fake. Everyone in the room knew Matthew was bleeding. Patricia placed the documents down one by one like weapons. Hidden assets. Fake company account. Fraud evidence from Callaway Holdings. Written threats. Witness statement of aggression around children. Matthew's lawyer stopped talking. Matthew stared at the table, breathing slow like he was trying not to explode. Then Patricia slid the final page forward. Sign, she said. Matthew's eyes lifted to me. You're really doing this, he muttered. I answered calmly, you did this, I'm finishing it. His lips curled in bitterness. After everything I gave you. I leaned forward slightly. You didn't give me a life, you used my life. Matthew's lawyer whispered something to him. Matthew's hands shook as he took the pen. He signed. One signature after another. Custody arrangement favored stability and safety. The kids stayed primarily with me, the house stayed mine. Assets were split fairly, and the hidden funds were traced and counted. Matthew put the pen down like it weighed 1,000 kilos. Patricia looked at me. It's done. I stood up slowly, feeling something strange inside me. Not joy, not relief, just power, quiet and solid. Matthew stood too, eyes red. He leaned close and whispered, you think you won, but you'll regret this. I looked at him with steady eyes. I already regretted marrying you. This is me correcting it. He flinched like I slapped him. Outside, my phone buzzed. A message from Ryan. Fraud case is moving forward. You're protected. I stared at the screen for a second, then replied. Thank you. When I got home, my kids ran to me like they always did. Ethan hugged my waist hard. Mia climbed into my arms. Mom, are we okay? Ethan asked. I kissed his forehead. Yes, we're okay. That night, I sat alone in the living room holding the signed settlement papers. I thought about the birthday morning when Matthew vanished and Alex laughed in my ear. They wanted to break me. Instead, they taught me something. People like them don't fall because someone hurts them. They fall because someone finally stops being scared. I folded the papers carefully and placed them in a drawer. Then I looked around the house and whispered to myself, clear and final. This is mine now. You have reached the end of the text.